Hello, everyone. Today we have on our panel discussion round Dr. Amit Agarwal with us, who is Director Medical Oncology from Fortis Hospital, Shalimar Bagh. We welcome you, Doctor, on board.
Thank you.
To let you know about Dr. Amit brings with him an experience of more than 19 years into medical oncology, and he is having specialty interest in treating breast cancer, neuroendocrine cancers, and molecular oncology, immunotherapy, and targeted therapies. Sir is also a member of American Society of Clinical Oncology and European Society of Medical Oncology and Neuroendocrine Tumor. So today we are going to discuss about managing patients with medical oncology and the advancements we are having in medical oncology. So to start with the first thing, I would like to ask, what is exactly medical oncology and what role does medical oncology play treating cancers?
Okay, cancer treatment is a complex and a multidisciplinary treatment. So there is not one set of doctors who will treat. Broadly speaking, there are three set of doctors who will treat cancer. For example, there will be a surgeon. He will be called surgical oncologist. Many patients will require radiation, and these doctors will be called radiation oncologists. We are the doctors who treat the patient with chemotherapy, which are the chemicals for the cancer in a drip form. And now the systemic treatment or a big treatment of oncology by us is not only chemotherapy, there are oral tablets available. Then there is a targeted therapy available, which is more specific and more effective. And there's a new class of drug available, immunotherapy, which we will talk about. So we are the doctors who treat the patient with chemotherapy, oral tablets, targeted therapies, and immunotherapies. We were known well for chemotherapies, and that's how we were known as a cancer treating physicians. But now our scope has increased. So I hope that answers the question that what medical oncology plays a large role in treatment of cancer.
So that is similar, like what therapeutic advances we have in medical oncology. So we can say that not only chemotherapy, we have different therapies as well, like hormone therapy, immunotherapy, which plays a role in medical oncology, treating patients for in medical oncology.
True. In fact, the role is becoming bigger than ever before. A lesser number of patients will be treated by chemotherapy. Their cancers would be analyzed by the lab, and the lab would answer us the question that is one kind of chemotherapy better than the other, or don't treat the patient with chemotherapy and avoid giving them toxicity, or they would say that the tablet would suffice, or they would say that increase the immunity of the patient by a specific drug to kill the cancer. And lot of cancers can be treated easily better, and some of them can be eradicated also by the new innovations in medical oncology.
Okay, so for treatment, what all evaluation or what all test is required to decide the protocol for the treatment?
So there are tests to find out whether you're dealing with cancer or not. So to establish the diagnosis, the most important test would be doing a biopsy. These days, in selected patients, we may not do a biopsy. We may collect a blood sample in some subset and collect the cancer cells from the blood only, and may be able to establish the diagnosis by what is called as blood biopsy or liquid biopsy. So there are a lot of patients who do not want to get the biopsy done. Not all of them, but in some of them, we can simply do a blood test and tell them it is a case of cancer or not a case of cancer. So that is an advancement in doing a biopsy, but still a large majority of patients would still require biopsy. So that is a test for saying it is cancer. Then the second test that we need to know is how far is the cancer spread. For that, we have investigation like X-rays, ultrasound, CT scans, MRI, PET CT scans, PET MRI, and even the PET scan, which is a highly sensitive tool for PET for detection of stage of a cancer, how far it has spread. Now there are 3 or 4 kind of PET scans available. Basic PET scan specific for neuroendocrine tumor, PET scan which is specific for prostate cancers, and many other cancers. So we are moving ahead and not just saying do one kind of a PET CT. We are saying for you the routine PET CT is not appropriate. For you a different kind of a PET CT is more appropriate. That kind of things we're doing. So these are set of investigations. Now, after the biopsies have been done or after the staging has been done, the tissue that we achieve from biopsy or from surgery is analyzed for further testing. How best should we treat the patient? Does this patient really require a surgery? Does this patient really require a chemotherapy? Can I treat this patient with oral treatment only? Can I find out why the patient got the cancer? Can the patient be acquiring this cancer because of family history? Can the family also be investigated, or like Angelina Jolie, that the family could be told that you can get cancer and they should start taking care of that? So a lot of new things are happening. So from biopsy for staging, from many investigation for finding out staging proper and telling them what treatment, and more information for better treatment, including that of the family.
So if we talk about hematologic malignancies, so what exactly it is? What is hematologic malignancy, and how does genomic analysis affect diagnosis of hematologic malignancies?
So simple way to answer hematological malignancy is it's a blood cancer. What we call in lay term as blood cancer is called as hematological malignancy in technical way. Now the genomic analysis of blood cancer is equivalent to what I have been talking about, analyzing the cancer. When you analyze the breast cancer, then it's called breast cancer genomic. When you're analyzing a hematological malignancies like blood cancer, then it's a genomic of that. Almost all cancers cannot be treated without a genomic analysis these days. The tumor needs to be understood. We don't tell a patient that you've got a blood cancer. We tell you A, B, Z kind of a blood cancer. And not only that, more information is achieved from genomic, and a personalized special treatment should be offered to an individual. And that means two blood cancers may not be similar to each other. One person's blood cancer may be very different from second patient's blood cancer, and same blood cancer looking like same blood cancer may be treated very differently in two different individuals, because they would have minute differences which we could not find out before and we can find out now. So that's the genomic advantage of analyzing blood cancers and other cancers.
So we can say that it is again one of the advancements which we have made in treating for treating cancers, and it helps in providing more accurate treatment to the patients.
It's a precision medicine.
Okay.
Personalized precision medicine.
Great. So, sir, if we talk about immunotherapy, now immunotherapy, people have heard this word, but they are not aware what exactly is it. Some people think it is a part of chemotherapy. Some people think that it's some new therapy which has been invented, but they are not aware exactly what immunotherapy is. So what exactly it is and how does it work?
Okay, it's a good question. So the first answer to the question is that it is not chemotherapy. That is the first answer to your one of the questions. Now, when we get a cough or a cold or a typhoid or even COVID for that matter, majority of us would recover because our immunity would allow to kill that virus, the bug, the bacteria, or whatever it is, and we really don't need too much of treatment, and our own immunity would help us recover. That is why in a family we sometimes say that these two people don't get infection, these two people get recurrent infection. The people who don't get infection, their immunity must be very strong. That's a common living thing that we say. There is an immunity which is supposed to kill the cancer cells also. Okay. Now, somehow in the person suffering from cancer, there is a lack of that immunity. Somehow, cancer cell is able to paralyze the immunity. Therefore, despite the presence of immunity, it cannot do anything. Therefore, cancer cell gets an advantage and grows and kills. Now we know the mechanism in a substantial number of patients that what is going wrong. You can say that the switch is off. So cancer cell has been able to switch off the immunity. Now these drugs, they go to the body near the cancer cell and they can switch it on. When they do switch it on, that means they allow the cancer cell to get activated, or they allow the immune cells to get activated. Now the immune cells close to the cancer cell can recognize this cancer cell, and they bring back their own immunity to kill the cancer cell. Because you are only activating the cancer specific immunity, therefore it is highly precise, highly specific, in selected patients very effective, and the toxicity is very small. So it is like telling your immunity what you should have been doing. You've forgotten that. Teach them how, teach them back, and they will learn it, and they will treat the cancer cells. Okay, so you're making your body itself strong enough to treat the cancer. You're not administering the chemicals, toxic, potentially toxic chemicals to treat the cancer cell, but you're asking your body's own immunity to get up, identify, and kill the cancer cell. It is not effective in all. It is effective in fair number. You need to have an appropriate patient appropriately tested. But when it works, then it can work like magic. I can give an example. So there is this gentleman there are two of them. One is a doctor from an African country, Kenya, who had a stage 4 liver cancer. And this has been 4 years now. In fact, due to COVID, he has not come back in 6 months. And for last 4 years, there is no disease yet at all. There's another patient from Iraqi area, Kurdistan area actually, and he had a metastatic cancer as well. And this has been, he came to meet me about 1 month ago during COVID times, and there is no evidence of disease, all gone, all gone. And this has been 3 years. We could not have imagined, if you see two brothers sitting, you could not identify who is the patient because there's no toxicity. Very similar. So in patients in whom you should give and it works, it's magic. Not all, but some, but in whom it works, it's magic.
So what all cancer are treated through immunotherapy? Means basically it works in which all cancer types?
Many cancers. Head and neck cancers, lung cancers, kidney cancers, and skin cancer are excellent examples. But that doesn't mean we have liver cancer where it works, because there are different, there's not one drug. There are at least 5 or 6 drugs. Okay, so it's not like one drug is there as immunotherapy. There are 5 drugs available in the country to use as immunotherapy. So head and neck cancer, lung cancer, selected very few breast cancer, liver cancers, even stomach cancer, lot of kidney cancer. They're very effective treatment for kidney cancer. There's a particular kind of skin cancer called melanoma, which is a black color of cancer. Right. These are very, very sensitive to immunotherapy, but more cancers than this are also sensitive to this treatment. Not all, selected patient, it works very well.
Okay. So are there any kind of side effects also in immunotherapy?
Not many, very few. If your immunity which gets stimulated is not only the cancer immunity, if your immunity gets stimulated, which is not supposed to be stimulated, which happens in about 2% to 3% of population, then the things can go wrong. But it's much worse off than, much better off than chemotherapy, where the toxicity is not limited to 2%, where the toxicity can happen in 40%, 50%, 60% of people. There is no hair loss, there is no nausea, there is no vomiting, there is no fatigue. People keep on working. There is no skin. I mean, skin toxicity can happen, but generally it doesn't happen. After a month or two, very few patients would have toxicity, and you can't identify them as patients.
Okay. Okay. So there is also hormone therapy. So how hormone therapy is different from immunotherapy?
Some of the cancers, particularly breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and uterine cancer, okay, these and prostate cancer, these are hormonally driven normal tissue. Okay, these are the tissue which are actually made to function by normal hormones of the body, and abnormal hormones or tissue depending on less hormone level is one of the critical factor why these cancers develop or progress. So if we give oral or injectable hormone therapy and brings back the hormonal altered status back to normal, then many of these cancer can be cured or altered or controlled for a long period of time with only these treatments. So change the hormonal abnormal pattern, bring the hormonal pattern back to normal, and then the cancer responds very well to that. Sometimes it is curative, but many of our prostate cancer patients can easily live on hormonal treatment for a long period of time. Even 5 years or 10 years with bad disease, they can be controlled for 5 years, 10 years without giving them chemotherapy. Some hormone therapy are oral, some hormone therapy are injectable. But answer is if you can make your bad hormone status into a good hormone status, some of these cancer can be very well controlled.
Okay. So now if we talk about relapsed multiple myeloma, so what exactly it is and what are the treatment options for treating relapsed myeloma?
So I don't. One of the most important treatment for myeloma is an autologous bone marrow transplant. So I don't know whether the patient had undergone a transplant before or not. But in myeloma, there are quite a few drugs. There are targeted drugs available. They specifically kill the myeloma cells. There are some chemotherapies also available. Patients who have relapsed after a long period of time can be re-offered autologous bone marrow transplant also. The regimens which are available for myeloma, depending on what they received before, is usually quite effective. I mean, I hope that answers your question. If you want the name of the drug, that doesn't help. But myeloma, which had only one line of drug available 15 years ago, now we have 5 or 6 lines of drug available.
So that is
Not a
advanced.
very not a very common cancer, but this is one cancer in which the advancement has been very rapid. We can offer them 4 or 5 kind of treatment one after the other. So a lot can be done for these patients.
And similarly, if we ask about the advancement which medical oncology made for treating cancers like leukemia, lymphoma, they have the similar kind of treatment
They are similar.
as
There's
for
a
real.
new there's a new treatment happening in USA, and I think Tata Memorial Hospital has just released it yesterday. It is yet to reach in India in a adequate strength, which is taking the patient's cancer cells out and bringing out the immunity outside and then teaching them. That's an advancement, much more advanced. And what I'm trying to say is that trying to stimulate the immunity is becoming a great advancement, and particularly in group of lymphoma and leukemia, more than immunotherapy is going to be offered within next 6 months, 9 months, or a year time.
Okay.
Even if you have failed immunotherapy, more drugs will be available to treat. Great time ahead for treating cancer patients. Likely we could cure more patients than ever before.
That's really great. So if we can find out such research or something. So if we talk about during this pandemic, what measures can be followed by cancer patients basically to avoid worsening of their symptoms or to avoid worsening of their uh, diagnosis?
So avoidance of COVID is important. There's no doubt about it. Cancer patients are more prone for not getting COVID, but if they get COVID, then their problems are higher than the normal population, because cancer patients are suffering from many symptoms and their immunity as such is low because they have cancer. Cancer itself decreases the immunity considerably. So all precaution to avoid COVID should be taken. Cancer patients with or without treatment should be taking vaccination. There is no contraindication to take vaccination if one has COVID. Whatever vaccination is available should be offered, should be given. Uh, some people also thought that cancer patient will not raise response to vaccination, but that's not true. The data suggests that if the vaccination is taken on time, appropriately, then these patients respond to vaccination as good as any other person would normally do. So that's a safe drug to take and an effective drug to take. Cancer doesn't listen to COVID. That means many people are trying to avoid taking opinions and taking treatment. That doesn't stop their cancer
Okay.
because that will
So
develop on its own. So
so
if
does
somebody has
COVID
a
plays a
symptom,
sorry. Yeah.
you go ahead.
Does COVID play a role in worsening of cancer?
No, COVID doesn't play a role. People are apprehensive about coming to the hospital, which is understandable. Nobody wants to go to hospital these days. But there are many diseases which are chronic, like joint problem. You could wait.
Okay.
Okay. But if somebody has a trauma, he cannot wait. Somebody has a heart attack, he cannot wait.
Right.
Somebody has a cancer, he cannot wait because this cancer is not going to listen to it. It's going to increase only. So I think the point here is that cancer cannot wait. Okay. The problem of cancer is people come in late stage. Somehow we are seeing more of late stage cancers because people are trying to avoid investigation. Let the COVID go away and then we will do it. But that doesn't happen. The second wave may or may not be followed by third wave. So if somebody has a confirmed cancer, I understand people are scared. Everybody's scared. But I think cancer cannot be stopped by getting scared. It has to be treated.
Got it, sir. So, how means recently UK launched a 5-minute breast cancer treatment jab called FESCO. So, to treat all stages of HER2 positive breast cancer cases in combination with chemotherapy. So, how effective is it in curing breast cancer?
So Fesco contains a drug called pertuzumab. Pertuzumab is available. Pertuzumab was being given as and Herceptin was being given as an infusional injection. And that infusional injection used to take about 4 to 5 hours of admission time in the hospital. Now they have released a combination of these two drugs as a subcutaneous injection, like we give insulin. Okay. So the advantage of that is the patient does not come to the hospital for too long, comes to the OPD, get the injection done, doesn't stay in the hospital for 5 to 6 hours and go back home, and it is equally effective to what injectable drugs were available to us before. So it is not an advancement of a drug, it's an advancement of a drug delivery method.
Okay.
Okay. If I have a drug for which it takes 24 hours admission, and if I can give that injection in 1 minute in the OPD, it saves so many things for the patient. Sooner or later, this drug with the delivery system will be launched in India. But because of COVID time, it will be not happening in 2 months, 3 months time, may happen in 6, 9 months time. But that will make patients' life very easy. Okay. They will have to just buy the drug and get it injected in the OPD, and within half an hour, 45 minutes, they can go back home.
Great.
Okay. And it is a great combination of drug, whether as a drip or as a new subcutaneous injection. But obviously, subcutaneous injection is going to be a better thing for the patient. Definitely.
Okay, sir. So now my last question is that after cancer treatment or after completion of chemotherapy cycles, what role does a follow-up plan plays?
Immense importance, because whenever we have treated the patient, there is a guarantee that the cancer will not come back. And the time period where the cancer can come back, not in all of them, is approximately 5 years. We normally ask the patient to keep in touch with us, regularly follow up with us in 5 years' time. Let's say somebody was treated in 2016, then 2021 will be the last 5 years. And then we may say in 2021, you're done, you're cancer free, you don't need to come back in 2022. So follow up is very, very important, because if something goes wrong, how will we pick up? And we don't want to have the cancer coming back. But if it is going to come back, we want to know it as early as possible, because earlier we pick the disease coming back, we can still cure it. Not in all, but some. Okay. But if the cancer is delayed, either in the initial diagnosis or as a recurrence, obviously we lose the bus.
Right. Got that, sir. So that was, I think, my end of questionnaire, means my end of list. Okay. So it was really helpful for our viewers, and it was really informative. It will definitely help us, many of the patients, getting an idea about what exactly are the advancements or what are exactly are the treatment options they have for treating their cancers. I would request you to have say a few words on as an ending note to our discussion, and we can definitely.
Okay. Yeah. So I would start by saying that cancer is much easily treatable these days. Cancer can be cured in many patients. Should be picked up early. Should be prevented in subset. We should not be scared of cancer. We have got better tools, machinery, and support to treat it. We come and we will fight the cancer together, and we will definitely kill it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.